Bob's Halloween Surprise by Teddy Snuggletale for comfy corner time. Once upon a once upon a time, in a quiet little graveyard outside a quaint little church, there lived a ghost named Bob. Just Bob, not Bob the Fright or Headless Bob, simply Bob. Now, Bob was not just any ghost. He was a ghost host. Yep, he had a very important job, did Bob. He was supposed to scare people. Every night, Bob would float around, hoping to give folks a fright. But there was one small problem with Bob's job. He wasn't very good at it. In fact, between you and me, he was rubbish. He was far too nice and friendly. One beautiful moonlit Halloween, Bob heard laughter and music as he made his ghostly rounds. "Ooh, people," he said, and followed the sounds. What a surprise when he found himself in front of a big, old, spooky house. "Ooh, maybe I'll make some other ghostly friends," he hooted excitedly. But something felt different. It wasn't spooky at all. It was wonderfully decorated with twinkling lights, giant pumpkins all lit up, and all sorts of colourful, scrumptious things to eat. Bob decided to take a closer look as he floated in through the door. Gosh, what a sight! A witch was brewing some giggles, a mummy was dancing like an Egyptian, and even a vampire was biting an apple. All the monsters were having a party, and Bob thought, "This is my chance to finally scare someone." So Bob went up to the nearest monster, wearing a giant, tubby jack-o'-lantern costume. "Bob!" Bob shouted, trying to sound as spooky as he could. But the jack-o'-lantern wasn't frightened, and she just said, "Oh, hi, Polly. Nice costume, and your boo is excellent, but it sounds like Bob." Bob was puzzled. "Polly? No, I'm Bob, and I'm trying to scare you." But it just came out as Bob, and the jack-o'-lantern laughed. "Bob, I'm going to bite you," said Bob to the vampire. The vampire giggled. "Hey, Polly, amazing Bob, boo, really spooky." Bob tried with the witch, the skeleton, and even the mummy, but they all called him Polly and laughed at his Bob. It's a cruel thing to laugh at a ghost, boo, and Bob felt quite downtrodden. Finally, Bob thought, looking at a big, shiny bowl of colourful sweets, "If I can't scare them, I'll join them." Bob scooped up the bowl of treats and poured them into his invisible mouth, and they tinkled and clinked and rustled and even floated for a bit. At that exact moment, the door opened and the room fell silent. The monsters turned to see the sweets pattering and splattering to the floor, just as their new guest said, "Hey guys, only me, Polly," and gave a friendly wave. Everyone in the room looked from Polly to Bob then from Bob to Polly, and back to Bob, who was holding the bowl of candy and smiling. They couldn't believe their eyes. "Bob?" said Bob sheepishly. There was a frenzy of screaming, running, bumping and thumping until all fell silent. The room was empty. All the monsters had run away. Bob stood there, baffled and alone. Sighing, he thought, maybe I don't have to be the scariest ghost in the world. Being myself is far more effective. So, from that day on, that's what he did. And people came to his popular haunt, the cemetery, just to be frightened by the famous Bob. Sleep tight.
Boo!